UCTV News. I'm Khaleel Rahman.
And I'm Regan Schiappa.
We begin tonight with exciting news about UConn's annual 18-hour dance marathon. Thousands of students raised a record-breaking $1.3 million for the Connecticut Children's Medical Center. At this year's HuskyTHON, patients of the Connecticut Children's Medical Center and their families told NBC Connecticut that HuskyTHON has pushed them through tough times financially for years.
History was made at the 91st Annual Academy Awards in Los Angeles. This year's Oscar ceremony was also a celebration of diversity in the film industry. Ruth E. Carter of Springfield, Massachusetts, is the first Black woman to win an Academy Award for Best Costume Design for Best Picture nominee Black Panther. In addition to Carter's triumph, 3 out of the 4 of the top acting awards all went to non-white actors Regina King, Mahershala Ali, and Rami Malek. This was a big step forward in representation from the controversial 2015 Academy Awards, where only white actors were nominated for and awarded for their performances in these categories.
UConn women's basketball coach Gino Auriemma will miss his second consecutive game due to a stomach virus. NBC Connecticut reports that associate head coach Chris Daly will fill in while Auriemma recovers. Daly guided the team to a 68-49 win in Tulsa last Sunday. Auriemma released a statement saying he expects to be back on the sidelines Saturday for the Huskies' final home game of the season against Houston.
A New Haven student is recovering after his foot was run over by a school bus Tuesday morning on Ellsworth Avenue. Police say the 14-year-old walked into the road as the bus drove up. The student got onto the bus and rode a few blocks before telling the driver he was hurt. He was then taken to the hospital. Social Security offices in Torrington were evacuated Tuesday morning after receiving a suspicious package that workers said had white powder on it. WFSB reports that the package was collected to be tested. No indications of hazardous materials were found. The FBI and the Connecticut State Police bomb squad were just a few of the emergency services that were called to the scene.
2 Connecticut transgender teens finished in first and second place in a 55-meter dash at the State Open Indoor Track Championships at Cromwell High School. Terry Miller finished in 6.95 seconds, and Andrea Yearwood finished in 7.01 seconds. Miller and Yearwood received criticism for having unfair advantages over the rest of the sprinters. The Washington Times called this case a familiar argument in a complex debate for transgender athletes as they break barriers across sports around the world, from high school to the pros.
The teenage driver of a car that crashed into a pole in Connecticut that burst into flames, killing 3 people in the backseat, has pleaded guilty. 18-year-old Jordan Cross pleaded guilty to 3 counts of first-degree manslaughter. He faces up to 15 years in prison. Cross did not have a driver's license and was racing another car at speeds over 85 miles per hour when he crashed. The car was engulfed in flames within seconds, killing 18-year-old William King, 21-year-old Bernara Mickens, and 17-year-old Devin Smith.
UConn's transportation services will launch a new bus tracking phone application that will give students more control and accurate information on bus tracking, from an automatic passenger count to notifications of when buses will arrive. The Daily Campus reports that the app, called Translock Rider, will allow students to favorite their most used stops and view 3 arrival times. Translock will be available to students starting on Monday. Now let's go to UCTV News reporter Luke Hydash for details on Mansfield's recent plastic bag ban.
Plastic bags like these, well, they're about to be a thing of the past for Mansfield and UConn. The town council has voted 8-1 to ban them, effective late August.
Bring your own bag. That's the message that the Mansfield Town Council is trying to get out to residents. Supporters of the ordinance say that ditching the plastic is worth it in the long run.
So even though it's going to cost you some money up front to buy some bags, you're saving the planet for your grandchildren's grandchildren's grandchildren.
Quinn Hill works at Gansett Wraps. He and the business owners say they've been using paper over plastic for years and have found no change in business because of it, which is the biggest concern for critics of the ordinance.
And if it's not too bad for business, obviously it's good to help the environment when you can.
At the town council meeting on February 11th, when the ordinance was passed, it was announced that bags will be available for little to no cost for Mansfield residents. Even still, Schriever says there are plenty of options.
I know that the Willimantic Food Co-op in Willimantic is making bags tomorrow from donations of fabric, and they will have bags there. I think people have to become creative.
Bags to put any type of produce in, bags along these lines, well, they're still okay. The single-use ones, they're the ones that are involved in the ordinance. For UCTV News, I'm Luke Hydash.
A Pennsylvania woman and her daughter are charged with killing 5 members of their own family, including 3 children. CNN reports that in separate interviews, 45-year-old Shayna S. Decree, her sister, and her 19-year-old daughter, Dominique Decree, of Bucks County choked their family members to death before Dominique Decree fatally choked her mother's sister. The affidavit includes statements from Shayna Decree that her deceased relatives wanted to die, and they talked about suicide, including their children.
CNN reports that an Amtrak train is moving once again after being stuck on the tracks for 36 hours. On Sunday night, the train carrying 183 passengers hit a tree that had fallen on the tracks, leaving the train motionless in Eugene, Oregon. Because of poor weather conditions and power outages, help was unable to get to the train until Tuesday morning. Up to 2 feet of snow fell in the area during the storm.
Have you visited South Carolina recently? Did you buy lottery tickets while you were there? The winner of $1.5 billion Mega Millions tickets sold in South Carolina back in October has yet to come forward. Lottery officials say the winner has until 5 p.m. on April 19th to claim their prize before the money is forfeited and reimbursed back to 44 states, Washington, D.C., and the Virgin Islands. Lottery officials say that up until now, the biggest lottery prize to go unclaimed was $68 million in New York in 2002. Now to UCTV's Tom Amoni for more on In the Crosshairs, an event in the Dodd Center featuring stories from 3 war journalists.
Today at the Conover Auditorium, 3 journalists shared their experiences covering the 1980s civil wars in Central America.
Maybe we could avoid the same kind of tragedy if we did our job reporting the real stories on the ground as the Salvadoran people or the Nicaraguans were experiencing.
Guests saw their panelists dive deep into the dangers of reporting their stories in unfamiliar places.
As an aspiring journalist and travel journalist, I thought it'd be really interesting hearing about what they went through and their trials and tribulations covering something so dangerous in Central America.
One of the pieces I read recently was by John Lee Anderson in the New Yorker this past summer, which was just the most cogent, concise summary of Nicaragua's history in the last 100 years that I think exists.
Robert Nicholsberg said he had to follow strict guidelines with the Army unit that protected him while he took pictures on the field.
Remember, I'm not a trained soldier or Marine, and they know that. I'm a liability. So I have to turn that around and become an asset in a way, or neutralize my liability status for them to feel comfortable with me being there.
Today, overseas reporting can be expensive, but it's often necessary to get the story right.
But there's something to be said and admired for doing your own physical reporting in a dangerous location and risking your life to tell the true stories of the people there.
These journalists on the ground reporting gave us a window into a world we wouldn't normally see and a realistic perspective on war conditions. Tam Amoni, UCTV News.
Here's a feel-good story for you. One man in Greenville, South Carolina bought $540 worth of Girl Scout cookies. Also that the scouts standing outside wouldn't have to be in the cold anymore. Cookie manager Kayla Dillard says none of the girls knew the man and called him a good Samaritan with an amazing soul.
Be careful when you take a sip of that drink. A new report by the public interest advocacy group, USPIRG, revealed that 5 wines and 15 beers contain traces of the weed killer glyphosate. This ingredient has been found in brands like Coors Light, Budweiser, Corona, Samuel Adams, and Heineken. USPIRG said the levels of glyphosate are not necessarily dangerous, but could pose health risks. USA Today reports that glyphosate could even be present in your favorite cereals, oatmeal, or granola bar.
Hamden native Anthony Rosamondo keeps winning this award season. Rosamondo won an Oscar at the 91st Annual Academy Awards on Sunday for Best Original Song Shallow, which he co-wrote with Lady Gaga, Mark Ronson, and Andrew Wyatt. The four have also won a Golden Globe and a Grammy for their hit song, which is from the movie A Star is Born. That does it for us tonight here at UCTV News.
Be sure to check us out on our YouTube channel and social media at UCTV Channel 14. We'll see you next week for another edition of UCTV News. Good night.